No time, no tools, big expectations. How do you transform school culture without derailing the train? Answer: little wins that bring big changes. The flywheel effect: harnessing the power of momentum to create a school culture that celebrates change and drives itself.
Hello, welcome back. This is Jordan with Live School, and I know you guys are all counting down days. We've got a couple weeks left to summer, depending on where you are out there. I saw online even some schools are out right now, so congrats to you guys if you're walking in graduation this weekend. But most of us got a couple weeks left, and that being kind of the theme of this episode, I brought on Justin, and me and Justin are going to talk about class party ideas because we're kind of all in that mood. Your past test. The weather outside is great, and you're probably running out of curriculum, and most of you are planning some sort of end of the year celebration for your kiddos. So, Justin, you want to tell us a little bit about class parties and why you might like to do that?
Yes. All right. So I know I have 36 hours left in my school year, Jordan. I don't know about you, or I don't know about other people listening, but that's how much time I got left. Anyway, all right. So the first classroom party that I would recommend, and these are all ones I've done as a middle school teacher or as a tech coach now, is the role I have now. First one would be just your basic movie and popcorn party. I've been in districts where admin has frowned upon using movies. Even at the end of the year, they've kind of wanted you to stay focused on the curriculum or the academic needs of the students. But one thing I found that kind of suits both needs, whether it's the movie and the academic piece, is trying to find something related to what we've talked about in the past. So as a history, the tie-in, right, exactly. So as a history teacher, if we were talking about the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King, one of my go-tos was Remember the Titans with Denzel Washington. And again, it's not going to, necessarily mention Martin Luther King by name, but they can get a pretty good idea of, what did the civil rights movement look like? Where else was it taking place? Not just in marches and sit-ins, but, in the day-to-day of schools and things like that. So, and the kids just ultimately love it. They can sit down and relax. And if you are actively watching the movie with them, there's something with having the teacher kind of let their guard down a little bit and just hanging out that is really enjoyable, especially at the end of the year. So highly recommend that one.
Yeah, oddly, some of the things I remember the most about from my a couple of my AP classes, like in high school, like I had AP European history, was like at the end they showed like a couple. I don't even remember the names of the movies right now, but like they showed a couple movies after we'd taken the AP test, and like you actually had like a different perspective for like what you're watching because like it's what you've been talking about all year. So like, yeah, you can tie it in, you can make it educational, and you can have a little fun with your kiddos with it.
For sure. Or even like when I taught English, if there was a story or a play or a drama we read, if there was a modern version of that, that was always a lot of fun too, because they could kind of see, oh, this character is technically this character in our drama, and making those connections and seeing how, the author's purpose or the author's craft or the director's purpose changed, and how people can have different thoughts on different stories and things like that.
Yeah, and you're going to have a hard time finding a district that's against popcorn. So
that's true, especially skinny pop. You can't go wrong. It's healthy. Nobody's usually allergic to it, so that's been my go-to whenever I have stuff like this.
Awesome. Yeah. What else you got for us? What kind of parties could a teacher think about throwing in their own room?
Yeah. One that I have found, I would have never done this in middle school, but now that I'm working in an elementary district as a tech coach, that I've seen some of our teachers that I work with do with the younger kids is a pajama party. They lose their minds in a good way, mind you, forgetting to wear pajama pants and, their pajama shirt, or some of the kids, some of the younger grades, they still show up in their footy pajamas. And like, it's just so much fun. It's especially at the younger grades. If you're going to do some story time, everyone gets together, you turn the lights off. If you got the TV or Apple TV or the Google Chromecast projection in the room, you put like the fireplace on the screen, you make it real cozy, real fun. And it's just it's just a good time, and they're still learning something, whether it's through their reading or their literature, and it's something they're gonna cherish and enjoy and think about as they get older. Like, oh, that was so cool. We got to have pajama parties in class and sit and do silent reading. Like, it's fun, and school should be fun. And then every time I've seen that done in my current role, the kids just absolutely love it.
So a few things on those, because those work all over the place. They're awesome. They're low cost or no cost. Like you're really talking about, you're creating good vibes in your classroom. And like, I have a first grader. I have my daughter's in first grade, and you mentioned they are excited about this. Never lays out her clothes before school. Laid out her pajamas before school. Okay, I mean that's kind of where you are with kids. They're going to love that one. Love it.
Yeah, it's crazy to see. Just you wouldn't think saying, "Hey, bring your pajamas to school," would be a big deal, but especially with the younger grades, it just is the end all be all, and it's fun. Like I said, so school should be fun. All right. The other one, this is one I did actually last year when I was still a middle school teacher. This was a karaoke party at the end of the year. I'll be honest, I am a horrible singer. Dogs bark, cats meow, children cry. But what we did is we literally wheeled out our district. My district at the time was a Apple district, so we wheeled out a MacBook. We hooked it up to the Apple TV, and we grabbed some speakers from the band room. Looked up on YouTube, swear-free versions of these songs, and it was just like, all right, who wants up next? Who wants in? Seeing kids do hits from the '90s when I was a kid, I think I had a student bust out Vanilla Ice and Ice Ice Baby, which was awesome. But it's super cheap, even if you don't have a MacBook. If you pull out your phone or a device that maybe you do have, whether it's an iPad or a Chromebook or anything like that, go to YouTube and just search for a song and put clean version and then crank the volume. If you don't have speakers, you're good. Like that's all there is to it. It's cheap, it's easy. And the only thing I would say is make sure they're picking songs that maybe you are a little aware of, because very easily it could get bad pretty quick if you don't search for the clean version. But overall, they absolutely love it.
So there's a cool way you can scale this up a little bit, because when I was a dean, I ran like the lunchroom at lunch. I'd covered all the lunches, and I was at a big school, so like each lunch would have 400, maybe 500 kids in it. So like for me to run lunch, I had like a wireless microphone, and like we had speakers in the cafeteria. And I could like talk to kids, I could give them direction, tell them like how long they had, and make sure you clean up and all that kind of stuff. But on Fridays, if they'd had a good week, I started doing karaoke Fridays, and not me singing. Nobody wants that.
No, I hear you.
Nobody wants that. But I would let kids come up and they would sing, and I had a projector like that. Usually, normally had like lunchroom rules and like expectation stuff on it, but we'd switch it and we'd have like, you just look up YouTube and you can find a song, and like any song you think of, and you'll have it with the words on the screen. Super easy. Now, one tip though, and you mentioned it, the first time I did that, thought this is a great idea. Kids are going to love this. I mentioned it. I hyped it up a little bit. Kids were all excited about it. And I did not give them a playlist beforehand.
Yes.
And the very first song I had never heard of. Who knew? Maybe a shocker to the folks who listen to this podcast, but I don't know all the music. But he gives me a song. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, you sure it's okay? It's clean version, right? And he goes, yeah, sure. No, it was not. So cafeteria karaoke almost was sunsetted the very first day we did it. But
yeah, it almost ended before it began, right? Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the other teacher I was working with when we did this, he actually went ahead and made like his own little booklet out of printed paper.
That's the move.
All the songs, he had done his research, which ones had clean versions. I think he might have even included like the hyperlinks in the Google Doc just to be safe. But yeah, but other than that, that's really the only pre-work you got to do for that one. So that's a nice easy one. I
started doing themes for Fridays. Like this was like Disney Karaoke Friday, or this one was all boy band Karaoke Friday. Like that kind of fixed it, because then they could only have 5 to 10 songs they could choose, and they were all pre-approved and all good. And didn't take me a long time to do it, but definitely had to do that ahead of time.
Right, exactly. All right, last one I got for you, and this is one, being in a tech role now, I absolutely love, and that is creating a digital escape room and having a party based on that. So think of, or a digital lockbox, it can be called a variety of things, but really you make Google Slides or Canva or PowerPoint, whatever you're comfortable with. I've seen it done in Prezi too, and have the kids searching for things around the room, around the school, if you want to take it a step further. So for like the end of the year, last year I did one, and I kind of made it about me and about our classroom, and just kind of like the running jokes we had throughout the school year, and then kind of let them explore the room and kind of stay in our little potted area where my classroom was. And, if other teachers were willing, they might have clues. And then the kids would come back. I had a Google form created for them as well. They would type in the answer to the Google form, and it would literally play an animation I made, and it would unlock, and it would bring them to the next slide, and then they'd have another clue to find. So, little bit more upkeep because you have to kind of design it yourself. But there's tons of templates out there. That's just what I used, and then I kind of eventually designed my own. But you would not believe the excitement of just, the kids get so amped up about it, that competition piece of trying to beat the other groups in the class. And I've done this for educational stuff. I've done it for more just fun side stuff, when we have downtime, but the kids really enjoy it.
So I'll make sure I'll find a template and I'll put it in the show notes when we post. I love this idea. I like scavenger hunts just in general. I used to do scavenger hunts at the beginning of the year, kind of as a get to know you type thing. But I like this idea a lot more because you mentioned something there, because the little things that happen throughout the year, by the time you get through 172 odd days, 180, depending on where you are, you've got a bunch of like inside jokes and references between you and the kids that they're only going to get. And it's going to make that a lot more fun and a lot more meaningful to them. So I like that idea a lot at the end of the year. And I'll make sure to put that in the show notes. You guys can run with that if you'd like. But we have way more of these ideas in an article Justin wrote for us. That's why Justin came on, as he wanted to explain some of his favorites. I will link that article in this as well, so you guys feel free to use any of those you'd like, and we'll link all the resources we mentioned as well. But kind of one last thing to sign off on my part for the end of school year. Have some fun with it. That's kind of what I would like to get across with this episode. Have some fun with it. We always kind of joke about counting down the days and how much time we got left, but you really only have so much time left for those kids. Find a little bit of time between now and then in the school year to have a little bit of fun with your kids.
The flywheel effect, harnessing the power of momentum to create a school culture that celebrates change and drives itself.